And joining me now is Barbara McQuade, former U.S. attorney, now University of Michigan law professor and MSNBC columnist, and a good friend to us. Barbara, I want to get to what you wrote this morning, the op-ed supporting the terrorism charge. What's your reasoning?
Well, Alex, it reminds me of some of the arguments I used to hear when people were opposed to hate crimes prosecutions. When we prosecute hate crimes, people sometimes say, why can't you just charge it as a murder or an assault like everyone else? This is about special people wanting special rules. And the response is, and the reason we have hate crimes, is because hate crimes are more serious than garden variety assaults or murders. It's because it is targeted a particular segment of a community in an effort to intimidate them or coerce them. In the same way, I see what Luigi Mangione did as violating this statute, which includes this terrorism enhancement for a murder that is committed to coerce or intimidate a civilian population. So this wasn't just a robbery gone bad. This wasn't just a random murder on a street. This wasn't some revenge murder. This was a murder designed to send a message to corporate America. Now, we haven't seen all of the evidence against Luigi Mangione, and of course, he's entitled to a presumption of innocence. But based on what we know, with the words that he wrote on the bullets about, deny and delay and depose, what he was found written in the notebook that he possessed about whacking a CEO, those things all to me suggest that this was a murder designed to intimidate and coerce. And political violence is something that has no place in our society. And so this charge sends that message.
Despite agreeing with that, there's a former assistant Manhattan DA who argues in the New York Times that the terrorism charge complicates a simple murder case. It takes on a higher burden of proof. It opens the proceedings to political theater. Is that true? And could the DA end up giving Mangione a soapbox?
That certainly is a point, and something I think that prosecutors must consider when deciding what's the appropriate charge in a case. Alvin Bragg, no doubt, could have taken the easy way out here and just charge it as a simple murder. It seems that he's got sufficient evidence that is very strong in this case between surveillance video and fingerprints and ballistics. But and so, yes, it might needlessly complicate things. But he has also charged second-degree murder in this case. So even if a jury cannot agree that this terrorism motive was present, they can still find that he was guilty of an ordinary murder, if such a thing exists. So I think it's appropriately backstopped. Perhaps it gives a soapbox, but I think that it's important to send a message that political violence has no place in American society.
Mangione's lawyer said in court that the two sets of charges appear to be in conflict. She said that the Manhattan charges include terrorism and potentially influencing a group of people, while the federal charges include stalking an individual. Do you agree with this, and does it matter?
It doesn't matter. I mean, I think that the federal case looks at this as what he did with regard to Brian Thompson in particular. I think the state prosecution is considering this effort to intimidate and coerce. And I do think there's a consistency here. If you look at what has been reported that was written in this notebook, he was seeking to send a message against corporate America. And then he selected Brian Thompson as his particular victim to send this message. So I don't think that there is any inconsistency between those. But most importantly, it really doesn't matter. These are two different cases brought by two different sovereigns. And so having different theories of prosecution is not relevant to the guilt or innocence of the defendant.
Okay, Barbara McQuade, always appreciate your insights. Thank you for sharing them.